Alright, so we're working off the last podcast. So we had the Buffs brain for 2020 off season, and now this is the Buffs brain for 2021. So here you can see our RFA signings. So there's 2 years left on the Barzal contract, 5 on the pool lock, 2 for the Tays, 1 for Aho, and then Bavillier down to Sorokin. We have new contracts that come this offseason, and then we have a one UFA signing. We have 3 trades that take place the year before in the 2020, and then 1 trade that happens in this 2021. So let's get down to it. So as we said before, those RFAs are re-signed. There are no UFAs signed in 2020, and then the trades made in 2020 would be Boychuk Wild and a third-round pick in 2022 for Miles Wood. And then with Detroit, that's New Jersey to Long Island. So we have Detroit to Long Island, Thomas Hickey, and a third-round pick for 2021 for future considerations. And then we have Montreal, Nick Leddy in a third round, and Nick Leddy for a third round and a fourth round. That could be a third round and a fifth round. That could be a flip of the Montreal pick from Long Island to Detroit. That could be a flip from Long Island to New Jersey. I'm not sure. It'll probably end up in the Jersey trade, but we'll see how that goes. It depends on when these moves are made, who you can ship out first, who's willing to take on your stuff, who Lou wants to talk to. And then the last thing that happens is, I think, in the next season, if Andrew Ladd cannot get onto a long-term injury reserve, or if no one can. So Ladd in the first round for an RFA rights. The only thing that I could see is a swap of Leddy. So I think Leddy might be 2021, Ladd might be 2020. I don't think all of this goes down in the same offseason. So most likely the first 3 go quick. Actually, what did I say here? I said looks like I didn't fucking write it down. Alright, so, yeah, Leddy could go or Led could go, and one of the others off season. To get to the RFAs coming in 2021, we have Bavillier, Bellows, Dowcole, Pellick, and Sorokin. So Sorokin is strictly a presumption. I presume that he fills the Thomas Grice role more than handsomely. I think he does at least just as well as Thomas Grice, and most likely better towards the end of it. I think he gets a 4-year contract at $4 million per season. I think that was about what he was going to get if he went back to Russia. I think it was going to be 3.5, so I think he gets a little bit more in the United States. Adam Pellick, I think, gets a 5 by 5.5. That seems about his area. I think he's just as valid as Pulak, who I gave $250,000 more to. I think those two could end up with like 5.66 each, both with expiring contracts the same year. Or maybe even Pellick gets that extra 6 year. I see those two being locked up for a while, though. Michael Dowcole is interesting. I compared him a lot to Kiefer Bellows when making these pay grades. Dowcole is an every night NHLer on Long Island. He has a 2-year deal coming in this 2021. He's a RFA, and I think he gets $250,000 more than Kiefer Bellows. I think Kiefer Bellows, the league minimum is $900,000 going into this new CBA. He could get the league minimum. I think that he gets a little bit more. I think he gets a $1 million. I don't see him getting what Bavillier had beforehand. I got 2.1 mil, because at least Bavillier was more or less a every night NHLer. Dowcole gives us absolutely nothing point production wise, but he plays a valuable role in this Barry Trotz system. So I think he gets 1.25 for 2 years. I think Bellows, because of his youth and lack of proving stuff, we'll see what happens next season. Who knows? It might bump him up a little bit. But I think he gets a 2 by 1. 2 years, 1 mil. And then the Bavillier is an interesting one. This might be cutting him a little short, but at the same time, he has not been he's not been outstanding with his point production. So if we just go real quick, I think he signed his last contract in, let's see. All right, so his career maybe 2 seasons ago. So he had scored 21 goals, 18 goals, 18 goals, but very low on the assist end. So he has a goal scorer. Actually was probably due for a 20 goal season this season if it wasn't cut early. Maybe I'm underrating him just a little bit. Maybe he could get to that 3.5. But it'll be an interesting ride to see what they can do with that. Maybe at that point you can get rid of a Cal Clutterbuck. Maybe he hits the LTIR. Maybe you end up shipping out Leo Komarov. That's a spot that needs to be filled. That I think, maybe you have that Komarov, Dowcole, Ross Johnson, that scrappy fourth line. But at the same time, to increase point production on that line, you have those two, at least a scrapper on your right side with Ross Johnson, who really is a left winger, but it really doesn't matter all that much. And then you have a Dowcole on the left side, and then Kiefer in the middle. Maybe get a little bit of talent around there just to even get him in and learn, to ground and pound. It's not easy to make it in this system for a skills player. It's geared towards someone that plays well systematically. That's a thing that I feel Matt Barzal might have a problem with, is the fact that the systematic play reduces the amount of points that he gets and the amount of goal scoring opportunities that the team has. That could maybe get frustrating for a young NHLer. Maybe, I don't want to say stunts growth, but grows players in a different direction that works well for his system. Um, but it'll be interesting to see if Bellows can make it in that spot. It'll be interesting if we can get rid of Komarov's deal. It'll be interesting if we can. I still don't understand the Varlamov deal, but I am not Lou, let me tell you. And then lastly for this, we have the UFA. I think that comes in at the end of 2021. I'm not even going to try to butcher this guy's name. He is a defenseman on the Edmonton Oilers currently. His name starts with an O. Esterly, Jordan O. I think he gets a 1 year contract at 1.5. He's a little bit young though. I forget how old he is, but I would actually kind of see him. He's 28 years old, but 29 next season. Actually, I'm sorry, he's on the Coyotes right now. Did play for Edmonton though. But I see, throw in whoever you want right there. It's really not that big of a deal. He just so happened to be a guy that I saw fit a Letty role really well, which is a great pick in that offseason if Letty leaves during that offseason, if we trade him that type of year. Because you could trade him now, and he could be great trade bait for next trade deadline. So it'll be interesting. I think Letty has more value on a team than just playing for that team. I think he's a good flip as well, especially for a rental. Well, I think he won't be a rental. He'll be like a 1.5 year rental for whatever team. So any quick last notes for this? So, yeah, notice it's 2020, 21, 22. Trades take place this offseason with Letty being the one after. That's the way I thought of it. There are also, oh yes, so also someone will be taken from to Seattle, the Seattle Krakens, which is an amazing name. I really like that. Their jersey's pretty slick. Who I have absolutely no idea. Maybe I'll work on that one day. That's a tough job though. 2020 resigned Barzy, Pulak, and Tays. 2021 Sorokin, Peleg, Bayu, Michael Dowcole, and Bellows. This leaves a lot of cap space in 23-24, in which case is the same offseason that Barzal is due for his re-up. And just hopefully when he comes back and decides to sign this fucking gigantic, unreasonable contract that, only generational type talents make, which would be amazing. And I would love that. So an interesting situation here. So this is my guess: if the Islanders have to match an offer sheet, um, oh, sorry, so it'd be this offseason. So if they have to match an offer sheet this offseason, I think that offer sheet will be a 7 by 11. Um, 11 seems to be the cap. It seems to be 11 or lower. 11, maybe like 10.5 to save those draft picks that you'll lose if he signs or if you don't match it. And then also as low as 8.5 for a longer term deal. That's something that Patrick Laine might end up kind of with. He's at like a 6 something right now. He's floating around that 9 territory. And I would say Matt Barzal is in the same type of conversation, I think slightly higher than a Patrick Laine, who is different, a very different player than Matt Barzal, but in talent wise and the age wise and contract wise. So the other RFAs have to take a pay cut. How big is that pay cut going to be? It's going to be tough. Coming away with the flat cap anyway, that might be something to come no matter what. So Letty here is swapped. So you swap third rounders and you get their second rounder. Their second rounder might not come our way. We might end up getting 2 third rounders. Their pick will probably be fairly high. So maybe we give them same thing. I think this Hickey trade is probably the most reasonable trade. He's a low cap, so it doesn't take much to move out. I think you could swap Jeremy Baracco and Josh Hosang. They're RFA rights. Baracco, it would be cool to have him. He's a hometown guy around here. And then, yeah, maybe 2/3 for Letty. And I would like to, maybe give a 4th rounder if we're only getting 2/3 back. Because Letty is, while a cap dump, quote unquote, for our purposes, he is not a dump of a player. Alright, so I see that. Alright, so yeah, I rationalized it because he could be flipped, as I said before. Great skater, good offensively, still has decent value. Hickey flipped with a 3rd. He's 2.5. That's not too much. I think 3rd is a decent compensation. And I think it would be good to flip Hosang and Baracco. Gives a chance to sign a hometown guy. Always good story. So we got Aho, 2 years, 900. You have the match of the offer sheet of Barzal, 7 years, 11 mil. You ship out Hickey, you ship out Letty, you still have Boychuk, you move Ladd to the long-term IR. Maybe you end up moving someone else to the long-term IR as well, or instead of. Maybe Boychuk ends up there if he probably will get hurt again. We'll see what happens with that. That'll be an interesting scenario. So with this how it is right now. So Letty gone, Hickey gone, Ladd to the long-term IR, and Boychuk still on the team. I think that with Barzal getting 11 mil, we have an extra an extra 1 million left to maybe split 2 ways between Pulak and Taze. Maybe Pulak ends up with a 6, and then you give him half, so 5.25, 6 years, 5.25, and then you give Taze the other half. He is with a 4 by 4.25. I see those as definitely fair contracts. Maybe Taze gets a little bit less. Maybe maybe Taze just gets a little bit less, and Pulak maybe gets a little bit more. But I think that these are definitely Taze. I don't think is going to get any offer sheets. Pulak may get an offer sheet, but I would not bet my house on it. Barzal, on the other hand, could very well get an offer sheet. Not many offer sheets are given out. There have been a lot of guys who they might have thought, but I do not think. I don't think that would go their way. So a couple good comments here. I really appreciate it on this one. So a fair trade would be Letty for the Columbus third round pick, but the Kings probably wouldn't do that either. More likely Komarov, Letty for a sixth round pick. If they would do that, I would do that. I would do Letty, nullify him with a Komarov. Now you just dumped off $8 million in that, and then you get back a sixth round pick. Not the greatest, but throwing Komarov, which is essentially a dead weight, with Nick Letty, who is an easy flip for a sixth rounder. That's not the worst thing I've ever seen. Maybe I try to push for like a fourth. I'm not sure what what LA's picks look like, but I'm sure they have a shit ton because they suck. This was funny. Bracco's too poor to even be traded. Swap him with Matthews before doing this reckless deal. Appreciated that. Yeah, right here, we had a couple guys say, are people expecting Barzal to get 11 mil a year? Yeah, I do. Yep, and another comment, maybe you offer something that's a little bit lower. I would never see the Islanders just taking the picks from that because he is a generational type player who works fantastically in the new NHL and the new high speed, great skating, good ass NHL. So yeah, massive would have to be over 12 mil. The owners aren't letting face of the franchise walk. Yeah, if it's more than $12 million a year, I'll take the picks. I'll take the picks for that because guys who are being paid $12 million a year, Panarin, no offense, I've never heard Barzal in a Hart Trophy conversation. John Tavares, I've never heard Barzal in a Hart Trophy conversation. I never saw him lead the league or fucking almost lead the league in points behind Jamie Benn, who was just fucking netting a fuck ton of empty netters. Right here, Pulak gets more. I could definitely understand that. Yeah, so on an offer sheet, it wouldn't surprise me if Barzal got 11 mil a year. And if that case, it'll get matched. This is true. On the other hand, if he's not given an offer sheet, we probably, me and him, probably do not think that they get an 11 mil contract. That's a long term. That's something that the Islanders, it's going to affect the way that the team is then put around him and the long term risk of the team. You'll probably end up having to give up a lot of draft picks. You'll have to end up throwing guys on long term IR. I know for a fact no owner wants to be over the cap because they have a bunch of dead weight in their long-term IR. These are things that owners probably come in knowing about, having to build a fucking brand new stadium. And then also having to deal with the last fucker's mistakes, mainly the general manager. The Komarov signing was not a great look. The Varlamov signing was not a great look. Definitely overpaying for a couple of these guys. I know that they were input for a specific reason, but it's tough when you have still 2 more years left of Leo Komarov. He's really not even that old, 33 years old, but he is an Uncle Leo. He is Uncle Leo to the guys, which I think is an important distinction. Casey Cizikas, actually, now looking at this, I didn't even bring this up. He's no longer on the team, man. That's why that fourth fucking in my other one, Cizikas is no longer on that team. I just don't know if the Islanders can pay him. I think that he'll possibly get paid more next season. He's a great faceoffman. He is a great penalty killer. He's a great energy. He's a fan favorite. He is someone that is easy. He is a handsome individual. So he's easy to market. And it's easy to love him. So from this, we'll have Barzy locked up for a while. We'll have Lee locked up for a while. We'll have Nelson locked up for a while. We'll still have a lot of years left of Burley. We still have a lot of years left of Peugeot. We still have Josh Bailey for a few more years. Cal is phasing out. Cizikas is phasing out. Leo's phasing out, but he may be gone. Bayou Bell's doubtful. All easy resigns. All RFAs. Boychuk may make it to the fucking long-term IR. I think if they get Boychuk and one more cap dump in that, say it's Ladd, say it's Leo, say it's Hickey, whoever it may be, Varlamov potentially. I doubt it, but potentially. If they get any of those contracts into long-term IR, I could see the Islanders then just offering an 8-year, $11 million contract. It'll be interesting. The only thing is that I don't imagine from now to 3 years from now, I don't think that Barzal's market worth increases all that much. As you can see in football right now with the Dak Prescott, you see Patty Mahomes get paid. You'll most likely see Deshaun Watson get paid soon. And then that's when you'll find out what Dak Prescott's going to get paid. Crazy to think that they are, in this economy, that they're giving out money like that. But in the hockey perspective, you now have a flat cap. And you have, you'll have star guys, coming up, and let's see if we can find some. The only thing is that he's a restrictive free agent. He's an RFA. If he was a UFA, which he would be at the end of this 3-year stint, you could pay him less for those 3 years. Those 3 years go by. Let's take a quick look at the actual Islanders. So you got Barzy here. 1, 2, 3. Or I should use the keyboard. 1, 2, 3. So you add that on, and now he's a UFA at the end of the 2023. So right here, you'll have. Let's check it out. You'll have $53 million in cap space if we just left it and didn't re-sign anybody. So at this point, Pelix, Cizikas may be gone. You'll have to re-sign Sorokin. This is when Varlamov's contract is done. This is when Mayfield will have to be re-signed. This is when Ladd's contract is done. You'll have to get Barzy back on a new contract. You might have to get these other RFAs onto a new contract. It'll be interesting to see what goes down. The year that Barzal has to get re-signed, but that's a topic for another day. So yeah, that's what I'm predicting right now. Hopefully it comes to a fruition. If not, yeah, don't blame me. All right, thank you for listening.